Welcome to the Skinny Podcast. It's the weekly Potpourri edition. I'm Richard Skinner, Local12.com digital sports columnist and editor, along with Rick Broering. As always, it's presented by Blake, the attorney Maisel. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We've got a new quarterback in town, Rick, but that's not all the only stuff. We got some maybe some sports talk radio to talk about. We've got some college football to talk about with the UC Bearcats suddenly on fire. Our gambling segment, which I don't even know how I did last week. I probably don't even want to know because I know on the sheet that I do, I was horrible.
You were 500.
Okay, all right, I'll take 500 because on my sheet I was less than 500, so that'll do. And my favorite part of the podcast, if you got questions, hit up the hashtag AskSkinnyAnything on Twitter, and I will answer any question you have so desire. It does not have to be sports related. Rick, we got a lot to get to. Let's get to it.
Yeah, Skinny, obviously the big news is Joe Flacco. Bengals traded a 5th-round pick to the Browns for Flacco and a 6th-round pick, and they plan to start him immediately. He's going to get the start against the Packers this Sunday afternoon, so Skinny, let me go back to like September 1st here. Imagine I had told you on September 1st that Dylan Gabriel would be the starting quarterback for the Browns. You probably would have said, okay, that's reasonable enough. And Joe Flacco would be starting for the Bengals by week 6. What would you have said at that point?
I probably would have shut the podcast off at that point and go, you're an idiot.
We're done with this. We're not doing this anymore.
Exactly. You talk about desperate times and desperate measures. That's literally what this move is. I mean, to sign a guy or get a guy on a Tuesday, not sign a guy, but trade for the guy, get a guy on Tuesday and cram him full of stuff to try to get him ready to start a game on Sunday. That's like when the Rams a couple of years ago were they were out of quarterbacks. They had everybody hurt and they went and got Baker Mayfield off the street, remember? And had to get him ready in a week. And he balled out to his credit. But I don't think people realize how hard this is and how desperate of a move this is.
I do love the idea of like, okay, yes, he doesn't know anything we're doing, but he already game planned for the Packers a few weeks ago. So like, at least I think that part of it is hilarious, like actually hilarious.
I do think that helps some.
Yeah, it has to help some, but it is funny too.
Yeah, I mean, he instead of, cram coursing what he has to learn from the Bengals and then looking at what the Packers do, it's really just a refresher now because he's seen what the Packers do up close and personal.
All right. Do you like the trade? I mean, do you think it was a good move for the Bengals?
I think they had to do something. I'll go there with it. They had to do something. I mean, the fan base. I've never heard this early in a season so many boos, and I get it. I mean, I get it entirely. I think the locker room was starting to lose some juice, and Jake was so in his head. I mean, I don't know if you saw some of his Sunday post-game press conference. I mean, he was a mess. And so even if you said to yourself, boy, that fourth quarter gives me some hope that Jake's going to be the Jake we thought he would be, he was so in his head that you had to do something. And truthfully, Mike White was not going to be the answer. Brett Rippon was not going to be the answer. Sean Clifford's not the answer. And the answer is not Jake Browning. So the answer has to come from somewhere. And I think this was probably the best of the moves they could make. And that'll allow me to quickly touch on some of the other guys that people were pining for. Kirk Cousins, he would make a little bit of sense if you could get the money to work. I think you are going to need a backup next year, right? And I think this proves that you need a capable backup. I still think Jake can play in this league. It's just not right now, and he's got to get it out of his head, and that's not going to happen in a week's time. I don't think we've seen the end of Jake Browning this year, to be honest with you. I mean, I can't imagine Joe Flacco gets through the rest of these games unscathed. Or even performs to a point where you're like, well, got to pull him. So I think Jake will get another opportunity at some point. But the Kirk Cousins one was the most interesting to me. I just don't think they were ever going to be able to make the finances work.
Yeah, so that was a non-starter financially.
Correct. So that really brings us then to the two guys in New York who are sitting on the bench, right? Jameis Winston, the number 3, and Russell Wilson, the number 2 to Jackson Dart. Did you like what you saw from the Jake Browning throw 3 touchdowns, throw 3 interceptions? Did you like that?
No, not particularly.
What's Jameis really noted for? Games like that, right?
Yeah, throwing a lot of interception, being a wild card. Correct. Big games, big numbers, but lots of interceptions.
I'll further shit. Seattle decided they didn't want him anymore, so they trade him to Denver. Denver decides it doesn't want him to the point where they ate $85 million in dead cap space. That's how much they did not want Russell Wilson on their roster anymore. Then in Pittsburgh, he had okay success, but towards the end, you could just see there was nothing left. There was no juice left for him, and they fizzled in the playoffs. And after that 1 year in Pittsburgh went, yeah, thanks, we're good with you. And so he goes to New York, and after 3 starts, they go, nah, we're good. Is that the guy you want? And a guy who brings with him a little bit of a diva-ishness to him? Do you really – is that what you really wanted?
No, but Skinny, here's the only thing I don't understand where you're coming from on this. Like, we already admitted they're in desperate times. They went out and got Joe Flacco. That was the guy that they ended up with. So it's not like we're talking about the Bengals have good options. They are in desperation mode.
Yeah, there were no good options.
You don't think Jameis Winston is a more dynamic athlete, a thrower of the football, has more in the tank left than Joe Flacco?
I don't know about thrower of the football. I think Joe's still got plenty of juice throwing the football. It's just a matter.
I don't know about that.
Joe just doesn't move. No, I think he does. I mean, I think they believe he does.
I mean, he has a strong arm overall, but man, we've seen some throws this year that, I don't think he's the same Joe Flacco that he used to be.
Right. We don't know all the things that go on behind the scenes and why his guys get buried on depth charts. I mean, Jameis, nobody wants him as a backup in this league. He's number 3 in New York. Nobody else wanted him. Remember, he signed up there fully knowing that's probably what he was going to be because Russell had already signed. They had talked about they were going to draft a quarterback. So he goes there fully knowing he's a number 3. Nobody wanted him as a number 2. There's got to be reasons for that. There just has to be.
Yeah, and I think that's more what I'd like to hear is like, yeah, the Bengals realize Jameis Winston exists, but they for whatever reason, whether it's makeup, attitude, they don't feel like he can lead the locker room the way, they feel like it'll become even more chaos or of a sideshow in there. That's all fine. I'm willing to listen to that. But this idea that we're going to act like Jameis Winston isn't talented enough for this situation is like, well, I mean, you're getting Joe Flacco. So I would have liked to hear that you at least looked into Jameis Winston and decided we didn't want him for whatever reason. The way it's been said is like, people are talking like the Giants never got a call for either one of those guys. And if the Bengals weren't interested, that's fine. But like, I'd like to know why.
I think for the reasons I just laid out.
But your idea is like those guys aren't great quarterbacks in the NFL. Well, no kidding. No one that the Bengals were going to get in this situation was a great quarterback in the NFL. But I think the argument could be made they're as good or better than Joe Flacco.
Well, Zach Taylor brought this up numerous times yesterday. And I don't think Zach Taylor's overly thrilled with having Joe Flacco because I think he made the point yesterday.
I wanted to ask you about that because Zach did not seem happy about this.
No. I think
what do you think he wanted? Do you think he wanted to keep rolling with Jake?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, he said after the game, I've got unwavering faith in Jake. He went from unwavering faith in Jake after the game to on Tuesday getting a new quarterback and even saying, when did you find out? When Duke told me we made the trade, that's when I found out. And he said he did ask me my opinion of Joe. He didn't say what his opinion was, right? He just said he did ask my opinion of Joe.
Yeah, it feels
I don't think it's a favorable opinion. I really don't.
Do you feel like we're getting our first public signs of a fracture there? Or a little bit of separation between Zach Taylor and Duke Tobin?
A little bit, yeah. Like, it was almost like, hey, we have to do something, anything. This is the best of the options we can get is Joe Flacco. And the coach, listen, he said all the right things yesterday, right? And some of it I agree. I think he believes. Some of it I don't think he believes. Like, Joe's a smart guy. He's going to pick things up quickly. He's a pro. I mean, all the things, he says he still can throw. And that's still a big, important part of being a quarterback. And that he fit their system. And maybe that's the other part to it. Maybe Russell Wilson's such a wacky wild card, he just doesn't fit the system. I don't know what system he fits anymore because he hadn't fit a system in 5 years. And Jameis, again, too erratic with the football. And I just don't think they had any interest in either one of those guys.
Yeah, the Jameis, the Russell Wilson one, I understand more. The Jameis one, to me, it just, there's downside to it. It could be a disaster, but you're already a disaster. And the thing we've seen at different times is Jameis has had upside. He has had moments, and it's like, this would arguably be the best group of skill players Jameis has ever played with.
It's the best group that Joe Flacco's ever played with.
And that's fair. But like, I think we've seen a few times when Jameis has had some dudes around him, they've had some big numbers. He's put up some things. So that's the only thing. It's not a big deal to me. It's not like I think, if Jameis Winston was here, the Bengals would be in a great spot, and it's so much better than where they're at now. I am curious to why he didn't seem like an option, and all of a sudden Joe Flacco was. That doesn't really make sense to me.
I think because Joe Flacco you can bring on a Tuesday and start on a Sunday, and maybe you didn't think you could do that with Jameis, and then you were back to, well, we're going to bring a guy in. And we're going to have to start Jake, and then you're in you may lose all of it if Jake has another game like he had.
Yeah, fair enough. Do you think Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win this week?
No. Quarterback play, and I still don't know if this defense is good enough to beat a good team. Now, the one thing I will say is this was a game I think before the year started. I think I even put this in the likely loss category when I did the likely wins, likely losses swing games. I'm almost 100% sure. So, I mean, you could go up there and play a pretty good game and lose. to me, the stretch of games is going to decide whether or not you're still in this or not, are the 3 games after Jets and the Bears. I mean, two winnable games and arguably 3 winnable games because one's on a short week at home.
Were you surprised that they named him the starter right away for this week?
Yes and no. Well, no, I'm not, because whoever was going to take the first snaps on Wednesday in practice was going to be the starter. And Zach said that on Monday, whoever that guy was going to be, because you only have really 2 days of getting full reps in, then Friday's a walkthrough. So you need to get those reps in, whoever was going to start. So the fact that they got him on Tuesday, they had already made up their mind. In fact, I think Zach said it was a second sentence to him as you're starting on Sunday. So I think once they made that trade, that he was definitively going to be the starter. You couldn't all of a sudden go to practice and go, all right, let's see what this guy's got. Now, I did ask Dan Pitcher on Monday because I was thinking at the time that it was like Mike White and Sean Clifford and Brett Rippon, one of those guys. And I said, Pitch, what if Wednesday's practice is an utter disaster? Can you go back to Jake? And he goes, well, I appreciate you painting that rosy picture for me. I said, well, I mean, what if? He goes, yeah, I'm not going to answer that. I'm like, okay, I get it. It probably wasn't a very good question, but in my mind, I'm like, okay, you name a Mike White, for example, and Mike goes out on Wednesday's practice and he just is a mess. What would you have done at that point?
Yeah, no, that's a legitimate question, but also I agree with him. Like, that's a terrible idea to answer, because as soon as you do that, that's clipped everywhere and split up in different ways, and it's the headline of multiple blogs and stuff. So, I mean, he made the right call there. But yeah, I'd like to know what, especially if it wasn't Flacco. Like, after you went out and got Flacco, it's like, okay, you're going to stick with him. He's a veteran, whatever. But like, if it was a Mike White situation, then is there more question about, are you actually going to Mike White, or are you potentially going back to Jake Browning? So you said,
I don't know if you can see this. Hang on, Ben Baby made a meme of this in a chat group among the beat writers. I thought it was pretty good, actually. Probably can't see it.
Go a little higher.
There we go. There we go. There's my question.
Yeah, I can't really read. I can see the pictures, but it's hard to read.
Yeah. And Pitch's reaction to it. I appreciate he painted that rosy picture. That really left a lot to be interpreted, is what he said.
Well, hold on. While we're on the topic of your social media, what about you going viral yesterday for tweeting that Joe Burrow was back at practice? What was that like next 20 minutes like for you?
It was kind of funny. I mean, as soon as I walked into practice, Emily Parker, she goes, well, you're bringing Joe Burrow back from the dead awful quick, aren't you? And I go, what? I went, oh, no. And at that point, so then another Kyle Williams, who's another media guy I like a lot, Kyle said, are you deleting that? I go, no, I just made fun of myself and said, good God, muscle memory. Because I was walking into practice talking to somebody as I'm typing that out to send it. And you know how your mind goes, right? You're talking to somebody and you just automatically type. And so I just said, at that point, there's nothing wrong with making fun of yourself when you do something stupid. That was stupid.
When I used to cover all the high schools, and I was trying to do like score updates. So I'd be live at a game, but I'd also be, because I'd be running like our whole website, I'd be trying to tweet score updates from all these other games too. Eventually you just screw it up, right? Like you tweet one of the names of the teams that you're at versus one of the teams that was at another location that you were trying to type in there as you're finishing up quickly. And it's exactly what you did. Muscle memory, type the wrong thing. People get so worked up about that.
Oh, I didn't even look at my reactions. I kept getting notifications of it. I mean, I think the best thing you can do in that case is don't delete it. Just make fun of yourself. I mean, listen.
Oh, sure.
I literally admitted it was muscle memory. I messed it up. I'm not going to run from that. It's a tweet, for goodness sakes. I didn't just kill somebody.
Right. I mean, it's like clearly Joe Flacco in the picture. I mean, it was like one of those no big deal things, but there are, you've got 500 retweets on it. People are losing their minds over it. So I thought that was
I hope they saw me poke fun of myself. I mean, that's the only thing you can do in that situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I love like people are acting like you're in trouble at work over it. It's like it's a errant tweet. It was a typo. What are we talking about? You mentioned that you think Joe Flacco gives them a better chance to win, or doesn't necessarily give them a better chance to win this week. What about the long term? Does he give them an actual chance to quote unquote stay in the hunt?
I'm going to have to see a couple of games of evidence. I mean, I was up in Cleveland for the opener, and I thought Joe actually played a good game. You can look at the raw numbers. He throws 2 picks, but literally both those picks were off wide receivers' hands for almost 300 yards. He made some good throws, made some plays. But if you look at like the body of work of the last couple of years, because he had a good 22. Remember, he led the Browns to the playoffs in 2023 when they signed him off the couch. And in Indy last year, he had some good moments too. And then his wide receivers got hurt. So I am interested to see with the weapons if he can generate enough offense to get him wins. I think the problem is you're going to have to score a bunch of points probably to win games. Is he capable of doing that? I think he's capable of not messing up and capable of making some plays. I just have to see a body of work. I can't even say definitively one way or the other. I mean, maybe he does. Maybe he finds the fountain of youth because he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins to throw to.
I lean no on that question simply because I'm to the point now that I'm not convinced the Bengals were staying in. I mean, in the AFC North, the way it's breaking, maybe they would have been fine, but I'm not convinced the Bengals were in a good spot even if Joe Burrow was healthy the way they've looked.
That's what Rick. I mean, I honestly think this was kind of a talking point that this was when Burrow was healthy, that you could be 2-4. And guess what they're going to be probably?
2-4.
Right. I think they could have lost to Minnesota and Denver and Detroit, even if Joe Burrow was healthy and Joe Burrow played well.
What about the AFC North picture, though, right now? I mean, does that change? 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, all right, the Bengals are completely done. But the longer this AFC North looks like a disaster, do you think maybe there's the chance they have the right year to have all this chaos going on?
No, absolutely. I mean, right now, Pittsburgh's 3-1 because they're coming off a bye. Bengals are 2-3, so you're a game and a half behind. Guess who you still play twice? I mean, you control your destiny with them, right? You still play them twice. You still play Baltimore, which is a mess, twice. Now, by the time you play Baltimore, they might not be a mess, but they're a mess right now. So, yeah, and the fact in the AFC, if the playoffs started today, Bengals are the first team out of the playoffs at the moment. It was made to say, we still are trying. We're trying. We're not punting on this season, and I commend them for that. I just don't know if Joe Flacco has enough to do it. And I think the one thing is it's going to be interesting to find out. And I'm all for interesting because, no offense, literally after that game last week, there's a bunch of us driving to Milwaukee, staying just north of Milwaukee, and then driving to Green Bay the day of the game because we couldn't find flights that worked for any of us. So we all decided just to rent a car and drive. We literally turned to each other in the press box and said, I don't know if I'm going to Milwaukee. And so all of a sudden this trade is made and we're like, back in. We already made a hotel. We're back in. I mean, I'm not going to miss this now.
Yeah, everybody's in on the Milwaukee trip all of a sudden. So who is in that car and as of now?
It would be Paul Dehner Jr., Jay Morrison, James Rapine, and myself.
Oh, wow. Little left, center, right action?
And I believe a coworker of James and Jay's. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. I think there's 5 of us. So we've got like a 3-tiered whatever it is.
All right, so you're going left, right, center, or no?
Oh, absolutely. It might be the most epic game. There may be hundreds of dollars changing hands on this trip. Oh,
there we go. All right. What's the injury situation like for the Bengals on Sunday, aside from Joe Burrow?
Yeah. What do you mean aside from Joe Burrow? Not playing, you mean?
Yeah, like, I mean, there it seemed like there were some issues coming out of last week's game. Like, how is T. Higgins? Like, what's going on with some of those updates? Is there any big concerns there?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Zach talked yesterday that he's going to load manage both T and Jamar this week because they play the game next week. Jamar actually was limited in practice yesterday just on rest, so that means he went through individual drills. Didn't go through the full practice, but he's healthy. And Zach actually said both of them they're healthy. They're just going to get load managed. I think the most interesting and I guess concerning one would be Dylan Fairchild not practicing. And I saw him limping around in the locker room on Sunday. I don't know when he got hurt. Actually, I saw him limping on Monday. I don't know when he got hurt because he played all but one snap in that Lions game. Now you're back to plugging in Dalton Reisner, who wasn't very good, or Lucas Patrick, because Lucas Patrick may come back. I think that would be the one for me that if Patrick comes back, he gets plugged in probably at left guard and you keep Jalen Rivers at right guard. But the guard situation has just been a mess.
Yeah, and that's not changing regardless of who's healthy. So
correct.
All right. Any other thoughts on Bengals, Packers? Anything related to that?
No. I come out of this game even at 2-4 going, it's not the end of the world. Look me up at the bye week, and then I can give you, I think, a definitive place of where this season is going. Because then again, you have 3 very winnable home games. Win those. If you're 5-4 at the bye, I go back